Hi guys, it's Mrs. Glenn. Welcome to the 6.01 assignment video. All right, let's get started. So the way that we do this video is what I want you to do is open up your 6.01 assignment and make it a split screen on your computer screen, or if you're on your phone viewing this video, then open up the assignment on your computer. And I'm going to give you time to pause the video and go ahead and do that, and then come back once you have a split screen. So the reason why I want you to have a split screen is that I'm going to do each question one by one, and then I'm going to ask you to go and do that question that relates to the question that I just did. So each question I do is going to be very similar to the questions you will see on 6.01. So by the time you finish this video, you will be done with your 6.101 assignment. All right, so first question. The following data shows the number of passengers in cars at a school basketball game. The data has been organized into a dot plot as shown below. For which number in the data plot is it plotted incorrectly? All right, so what you got to do first is put them in order from least to greatest. So 1, and then a 2, then 2 3s, 6 4s, and 4 5s. And you can see on the left, I like to cross them out as I do each one so I can make sure that I have all of my numbers and I'm not missing anything. So I cross them out after I put them down on the right-hand side. And then I'm going to take a look at how many of each number that we have in the list of numbers I just put in order and match it with the number of dots I see on the dot plot. So the question's asking which one is incorrect. So I'm looking for the one that is not plotted correctly. So I can see that it is correct if I give a green check mark for the number of dots for the first one, which for 1, there's only 1. For 2, there's only 1. For 3, there's 2. For 4, there's 5. But we have 6 4s in our list. And for the last one, there are 4 5s and there are 4 dots. So you can see we should have had 6 dots on the dot plot and we only had 5. Now I do want to show you another way to organize this information that might help your brain a little bit better. So you can make a table on the right here. And on the left-hand side, you're just going to list all the numbers that we have in the dot plot along the x-axis. So 1 through 5. And then I'm going to put a tally next to each number of however many times it occurs. So there's only 1 1, there's only 1 2, there's 2 3s, there's 6 4s, and there is 4 5s. So now I'm going to make another column in my table where I count the number of dots for each number. So there's 1 1, there's 1 2, there's 2 3s, there's only 5 4s, and there is 4 5s. So now I'm going to go through and compare the tally and the dots. So the tally and the dots, if they are the same number of tallies compared to the same number of dots, then I give it a green check mark. So you can see that there is an equivalent number for that, and then for number 5. But if you look at number 4, there's only 5 dots, but there's 6 tallies. So there's our error. So you're going to say the number 4 should have 6 dots. All right, so what you're going to do is click pause on this video and go ahead and complete your number 1 on your 6.01 assignment. And then when you're done with number 1, come back and we'll continue with number 2. All right, number 2, Joshua recorded the different types of pizza his friends like in the table below. Create a plot that represents the table below. So this is pretty easy. All you got to do is look at the numbers in the table and then put that many dots above each name. So for cheese, there's 4 dots. For mushrooms, there's 2. For pepperoni, there's 1. And for supreme, there's 5. So if we're comparing or analyzing this, you can say that supreme was the most popular and pepperoni was the least popular, if you wanted to say which one was the least popular, the opposite. All right, go ahead and pause this one and do the next question, which would be number 3. I believe, number 3, right? No, number 2. This is number 2. So go ahead and pause and do number 2. All right, number 3, dog owners enter their dogs in an annual canine obedience Olympics. The histogram below represents the dog weights in kilograms. Write a statement that compares the height of the bars in the histogram. So if you're looking at the height of the bars in the histogram, then that means that we need to identify the highest and then identify the lowest. So looking at that, you can see in the middle where the weight is 30 to 39 kilograms, there's 35 dogs in that category, which is the highest category or the highest weight class. And then the lowest one would be the 4 on the right-hand side. There's only 4 dogs that weigh between 60 and 69 kilograms, and that would be the smallest weight class. So there's many ways to compare a histogram or say things that are comparable against the other. You could say that a majority of the dogs are less than 39 kilograms. You could say there's less dogs that weigh less than 9 or greater than 60 kilograms. There's lots of different ways of saying it, but the best way is just to compare the highest and the lowest, and that gives a good indicator of what the histogram looks like. You can also tell that this is an evenly distributed histogram because the middle is the highest, and then they slowly, not perfectly symmetrical obviously, but it's a very well distributed histogram because the outside bars continually to go down like in steps until the outside left and right are the lowest numbers for each side. And that's kind of similar to a bell curve where the highest is in the middle and the lowest will be at the ends in those quadrants. So this is a pretty evenly distributed data, which means the data is pretty accurate. So go ahead and pause this one and do your number 3. All right, going on to number 4. A group of 31 students participated in a math competition. So these are their scores below, and you can immediately see that their scores are in a range between 20 and 29 points. 5 students scored that. So all of the X values are a range. Actually, the Y values are all a range of numbers. So 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and so on. So that's an indicator that you want to use a histogram to represent that information. If it was like the pizza one, let me go back to the pizza one, like this, where you just have one specific pizza type and then the number of people that picked it, then you can make a dot for each one of those. But because we have a range of information on this one, you can't put a dot plot in accurately representing this information. You're going to have to put a range, which would be a histogram. So a histogram would be representing the data the best because the scores are recorded as ranges of numbers. So the tallest column after you create your histogram would be the column that's between 30 and 39 scoring points because there's 10 students in that area. Then the next highest would be 50 to 59, and then 40 to 49, and then 20 to 29. And the lowest column would be 60 to 69 points. So go ahead and pause the video and do your question number 4. All right, last question, number 5. Which one is a statistical question? So statistics likes information that are specific that you can actually gather data from. So if it's something is very vague, it's very hard to gather data that is accurate and valid. So you want to make sure that your question is giving you the most information. It's not necessarily the longest question, it's just the most detailed question. So let me show you what that looks like. So the first one says, how many professional sports teams are there? Well, are they talking about Olympic sports teams? Are they talking about, NBA, all of those different kinds of sports? Are they talking about only female sports? Or are they talking about only male sports? Are they talking about in the United States? Are they talking about around the whole world? That's not very specific. All of those questions I just said would be answered in a very statistical question. So this one would not be a good one, so I'm going to cross it out. For B, where do teams play? Well, what are you talking about? Little league teams? Major league teams? Olympic teams? Again, not a very good question because it's very vague. So the next 2 questions are actually pretty specific, but one is a little bit more specific than the other. So let's look at D first. How many hours of professional training took place last month? So they have what's going on, professional training, and they have when, which is the hours that they trained for, and last month is what the time frame that they're recording it. But they're not talking about specifically what kind of professional training are they talking about. Are they talking about learning how to become a lawyer, professional training? Are they talking about learning how to become a basketball player? Are they talking about learning how to be a horseback rider? Or learning how to cut hair? Like, all those things could be answered because this isn't very specific. So this does not tell us where, and it does not tell us who, which means what kind of training are they talking about. So this is not a good one, so I'm going to cross that one out. So for C, it does answer a few things. It gives us the who, which is talking about you. So I put the word who above the word you. So specifically one person. And it talks about what, which is the training that you're training for the sports league. It talks about when, each week, how many hours. And it talks about how. And you're training for a sport league. So training for a sport league is different than training for a marathon or training for a swimming competition or something. So this is very specific, and it's not exactly specific. Maybe a sport league, we could have said basketball league or something, or major league baseball or something like that. That would have been even a better statistical question. But again, out of the 4 choices we had, this is the most specific. that answered our who, what, and when, and how questions. So go ahead and pause this and do your number 5. And now you're done with your 6.01 assignment. Go ahead and hit submit. And if you did not do well, go back to the question that I went over and see what you did wrong and retry it. Remember, you have 3 attempts. Good luck, and go ahead and finish 601 and work on 602. That would be the only assignments for this week. Take care.